he doesn't say this, okay, because he's more politically wise than to say it, but he's really conducting an attack on the currency market. Very much. Max Kaiser had a great tweet in the last couple of days where he said that just like Soros attacked the Bank of England and forced them to revalue the pound, in a way, Saylor is kind of attacking the sovereign strength of the dollar. Like I say, he won't say it that way. He doesn't want it to be perceived that way to the powers that be, but it really is what he's doing. I mean, he's making an enormous bet, obviously, and it continues to grow and grow ahead of schedule, whereby he's exchanging paper in his company, whether it be debt or equity, or in this case, I think this morning it was preferred stock. I haven't had time to dig into all the details on it because I'm pretty busy trying to get the book out. But he raises capital in dollar terms that he owes back in either debt or equity or preferred returns. And then he uses that capital to buy a better form of capital, which we all know is Bitcoin. And that act on his part is really kind of an attack on the underlying value of the capital of the dollar, because he's exchanging dollar debt for sound money, digital sound money asset, namely Bitcoin. And that's what's going to happen worldwide. Everybody is going to do what Saylor's doing before this is all over. It's just that we're at the very early days because, as you know, a $2 trillion market cap of Bitcoin on 900 trillion of global financial assets. I mean, Bitcoin is still only 0.2% of all the global assets out there if you include real estate in the bucket. So, what Saylor is just saying is, I know mathematically that these guys cannot continue to hold the value of the existing money, and so I'm going to borrow in that money and I'm going to invest into a sounder money. And he's doing it over and over again. And as you know, he announced a couple of programs where he would raise money at the market and then buy coin, and he's ahead of schedule. He's just, every time he turns around, he figures a way to raise more capital on attractive terms and deploy it into Bitcoin. And of course, as Bitcoin continues to go up, it becomes reflexive, where his returns look even better, and then there are more people who want to invest with him, and so on and so forth. I mean, very much in the same way that the sovereign debt cycle is a reflexive negative feedback loop, where they have to continually issue more and more and more debt to keep the government solvent, and it gets worse as interest expenses get worse. Saylor's doing the exact same thing in reverse. He's borrowing in that currency but putting it into a better currency.
And just so people are curious, what they had announced today, this was the actual tweet. The MicroStrategy announces pricing of its Strike preferred stock, offering and upsize the deal from $250 million to $584 million. So that was what it was.
Isn't that amazing? And this is true. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, he raises these converts at 0% interest, and that's because his prior converts have had, they've paid very low rates of interest, and they've had 47% upside. I mean, what convertible bond manager expects to get a return of 30, 40, 50% in a couple of years? I mean, if they get that return over 10 or 15 years, they'd be happy. So, yeah, I mean, it just, because what he's doing makes so much sense, it attracts more capital, and then more capital accelerates the whole process. So it really is kind of an amazing financial flywheel that he's found. And I don't think most of the world has really taken the time to deeply understand this and just how profound this is. I mean, it's like he's found a money machine. And so, eventually the world will figure that out. He'll have competitors, et cetera, but not right now. He's all alone.
There's been a lot of just charts lately on Bitcoin, Twitter, different stuff. And, the average guy can't afford anything. So retail is kind of, dunzo. And what is your take on the sovereign wealth funds and the nation states and, most of the capital? I'd love for you to kind of unpack for the average viewer, because you hear so many people saying, oh, it's diminishing returns in Bitcoin. Look at the average guy can't buy it anymore. But like you just mentioned, this made me think of it. 1-2% of the world's assets are in Bitcoin right now. Could you just unpack that a little bit and why Bitcoin has so much upside?
Yeah, it's even less.
Yes.
It's actually only 0.2%. So if Bitcoin could go to $1 million a coin, 10x from here, and it'd still only be 2% of the world's assets. And it's a great question. I've been encountering a lot. Well, yeah, I get it. You may be right, but gosh, I got to pay 100,000 for what you bought for 20.
Yeah, unit count bias.
Yeah. See, so you get price bias, and I say no. You're looking at it from the wrong model. You're looking at it from a trees don't grow to the sky investing model. What you got to look at it from is kind of more of a replacement cost model, that fiat's going to fail and Bitcoin's going to replace it. And if that's the case, with fiat, you're in a burning fire, and you're in a burning theater, and you got smoke coming up. And so what's the price? What's the value of the price of getting through that door or the exit so you don't get burnt? It's unlimited in fiat terms. So in my view, that's kind of where we're going. And, I mean, 5 or 10 years from now, it'll be at $1 million or, even quicker than that. And, everyone will be saying, well, God, I wish I bought it at 100,000. So you've got to kind of flip the thing. I mean, I don't think there's anybody in Bitcoin who doesn't feel like they paid too much when they bought it. They hated the fact that it was where it was when they bought it. But, I mean, what I always say is just wait 5 years and, you'll feel like you're a genius. I mean, hey, I bought some at the peak pre the SBF crash. I bought some at 65. And when it went to 15, I wasn't feeling great about it, but I knew I wasn't wrong. And now it's at 104 and, someday it'll be 204. So if I paid 65 for that, so what? You know what I mean? So you just have to get into it wherever it is at any given point in time. And then you have to let it compound. I mean, it's going to compound, consistently and patiently for years and years. And that's really your friend. I mean, it's time in the market that creates great returns. You can't really time the market per se. So, yeah, I mean, it's a hard one to get your head around, though. I mean, I will say that's the biggest objection I've encountered recently. Prior to that, the biggest objection was, well, the government's going to ban this. It's a nice libertarian fantasy, but it's never going to happen. Well, then the ETF got approved. And so they kind of had to throw that one out. So, but yeah, the price is a problem. And you say, well, it's too expensive, I can't buy it. I mean, I think some other people who aren't, if you're not terribly sophisticated, some people make the, well, I can't afford 100,000. Well, of course not. But you can buy, a tenth of a coin or 1/100th of a coin. I mean, you can put $100 into Bitcoin. You can put any number into Bitcoin. It's divisible to 100 million Satoshis. So that's not really a stopper,
There's obviously a ton of action right now, obviously, just with executive orders and the Trump administration, the first 10 days or so, what's going on here. What are your thoughts on SOB 121 being repealed and just how you see that filtering through the system, maybe how quickly that might happen potentially?
If you want the answer to that question right there and you like that spicy clip, check it out here. Come on, we'll see you in there. But if you want the full interview in its entirety, all the spicy clips put together, and you're not going to want to miss it, believe me, then check that out here. Come on, we'll see you in there. Do it.